Hello team, we're going to talk a little bit about DEP discharges. Now this is mostly for the classifiers, but I'm going to show you something for the recruiters that might be helpful. This is more information on when a DEP discharge is actually complete. If this person winds up being an asset for you again to come back into the Navy, one of the things that you have to do, of course, is a DEP discharge waiver. And what my team has been able to do is, after we complete the DEP discharge page 13, we're able to load it to a specific section within Pride itself. So when we add a DEP discharge page 13, you will find it under Administrative Separation from Delayed Entry, DEP NAVPERS 1070-613. So this frees you up in case you're welcome to continue eavesdropping on this particular training. But other than that, the rest of this is geared towards how to properly process DEP discharge Attrite for the classifiers. So now classifiers. Of course, when we get our our notices to do an Attrite, a lot of times because of our battle rhythm, it's going to come late in the day. And part of a good practice is to make sure, because they come in late in the day and we support each of the MEPs, it's always good as part of your routine, which you'll see in the senior classifier best practices, to look at the sold and unsold report from the previous day when you start your day in the morning after all of the shipping is done. And when I pull our discharges at the beginning of the day, when I'm pulling the record, we have, of course, our reduced records, and then we still have our full file records, which will get retained, but the medical is going to get turned in. It's going to get turned in with the DEP discharge page 13. So what I'm usually doing is I'm taking the day that they discharged and I'm finding it on my handy dandy Julian calendar. And then I'm also looking for the original date that they DEP'd in, and I'm going to go by the 680 for that. And then I'm going to find that date on the Julian calendar. This is one of those desk references. It's easy to look up with a Google, get it printed out, and I usually have this around anytime I do a DEP discharge. Just to be aware, normally because there's a leap year going on, we have to add an extra day to the Julian date for the date of the discharge. And then if they DEP'd in on the previous year, I'm going to take the date that we discharged, add 365 days, and then minus the day that they DEP'd in, and it's going to give us an accurate number. Now, this example, they DEP'd in 2020. They're also discharged in 2020, so the math was pretty simple. I had a Julian date of 134 for the date of discharge. Add 1 because of the leap year. It gave me 135. They DEP'd in on the 28th of February, so that gives me a Julian date of 059, and the math winds up being that they were 74 days in DEP. The other thing that is very critical is I have this little snippet from the Group Man, which has all of the proper coding. So coding that a lot of folks see out in the field, and what we first use is things like RTO and pregnancy and CCC for enlistment into another component of the same service. But then there's a code that's going to go on the page 13, which correlates with NEARS codes, of course. And there's a lot of common ones. We had the most common one, of course, we'll see is ZBD, because that's the code that's related to RTO. But a lot of important ones that to realize that have an impact are our OFF, which still winds up being ZBD. Those are our officer candidates. And officer candidates, when it gets to the statistician level at NRD and at district, they won't count against our overall number. So losing someone to the officer corps does not hurt our production. And then things that are important to me is also, say, a ZKC, and that's, you know, sometimes down the hall they augmented one of our FTS as active duty, and the impact is that sometimes when day comes to ship, we find out that they put them in under the wrong branch class. The ZKC is administrative page 13 that helps us flip them over, and it's basically still telling them that this person's really not discharging, they're just discharging from one branch to get into the other branch. Another courtesy one is the ZEA. That's for some people who Attrite because they're choosing to join another service. And even if we do a lot of our Attrites as straight up RTO ZBDs, the coding of your page 13 is going to be important. And that's why it's so important that we get the DAR, that's so we can read the DAR and find out the reason why they are separating, because the coding on the page 13 is still going to override the potential coding that was placed into Pride. Now, this is the good little fun trick. So I've already drafted up this page 13 for this candidate that we were using as in our example. Got their number of days and all that good stuff. Now, a nice trick for us is the page, there is no drafted page 13 that we can draft from Pride. So we have a page 13 that we have in an Acrobat version. But once I resave this as a new name, I can digitally sign this page 13 and then directly upload this page 13 to the spot that in Pride. As well as print the copies that I need for turning in this record to MEPS and any paper routines that we still choose to retain. So one little easy trick that hopefully is able to make your day go a little bit better. Print my copies and we're good to go. So remember, as upsetting as any Attrite is, because we know the opportunities that the Navy provides and we know the things that we're able to do, Attrites still happen. And one way to properly manage this is, because we might get them back, is to properly construct the page 13. Have it in a place that's accessible for the recruiters, as well as being good hosts for our MEPS team by getting this stuff back to them. So thanks again. Keep doing all the great things that you do, and Chief out.